Hey, IRSAnonymous here, and this is basically going to be a story time. It's going to be a pretty lengthy video of me being in my first abusive relationship, and I'm not saying that like that's one in counting, like I wanted to continue, not at all. It was the first abusive relationship that I had that I didn't even know was considered domestic violence. Back then I didn't. So I'm going to get right into the story, starting from the beginning. So me and this girl was friends in college, and she was with a guy, and he ended up getting into the military. And he was, after all of whatever, he was stationed in Texas. So I went to visit her for like around our birthday times. Our birthdays was like close to one another. And so I was down there for like a week. No, I was down there for a week. And it was fun and everything. And then they introduced me to one of his friends who was also in the military. I think, yeah. They was probably in different parts. I don't know. So they introduced me to one of their friends. I didn't get to see him when I was there. Somehow I missed him, whatever. Either way, we started talking when I went back home. So a couple of months later, I went back to Texas because I had so much fun, and I was like, oh, it's fun down here, it's affordable, it's cheap and stuff like that. And so me and my friend, I'm gonna call her May. Me and May was talking about how it could be if I was living down there or whatever. And so Friday, and then I actually met the guy that they introduced me to when I was down there the second time. We're going to call him EW. And so I met him, and me and her was talking about how I could live down there because it was cheaper than where we were from, and it was affordable, and then with my major and stuff like that. So we was talking about all of that. So I left Friday, packed my stuff Saturday, and drove back down to Texas in my car, my leased car, with all my stuff on Sunday. Because for some reason I had an interview. I don't know how I looked up this job. It was quick though. And they scheduled me for an interview on Monday. So everything happened super fast. Like nothing was planned out like it should have been or anything. So I'm in Texas now, and when we were talking, she was mentioning how they will understand my situation now. I had up and left my job back at home, and that they would let me pay for like one of the cheapest bills, like the water bill or something. So I get down there, start living with her for a week or whatever. And so a week after I came, her cousin came. And I was like, was she recruiting us? Because she's a family girl. And so nobody was down there but her and her husband. And now, in this part of the story, it's me and her cousin that's down there too. After a while, she was like, she changed it from letting me to pay for the smaller bill. Now it's one of the most expensive bills, the cable bill. I didn't watch TV, and it was stiff, but I was like, okay. It was steep in how much it was, considering my situation of just moving down there and, you know, up and leaving my job and not having a lot of money to be whatever. So it went from there. I was like, okay. And then not too long after that, her and her husband makes this contract. I think I saved it. It was a full-blown joke. Grammatical errors up and down from the beginning to end. Misspelled words. A full-blown joke on paper. That's what it was. I remember just two things kind of. Well, for sure, I remember her saying that me and her cousin was going to pay $400 each for staying there. So they had a 3-bedroom, like 1 level, and she told me that their rent was $800 a month. It was super cheap down there. I was like, dang, this is crazy. And a part of it, I remember slightly something saying if we ate food from out of the refrigerator and we didn't pay for it, we had to give them a percentage. I don't know if it was like 25% or whatever. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't say anything. I was like, oh, okay. And the contract was going to start the next month. So I still didn't have a job at this time. After a while, I did end up getting a job at State Farm, one of the little agencies, one of the races. That was the first time I've ever dealt with racism in my face before. If I remember to make a story time, I probably would. So I got a job there. Not too long after that, I got my own apartment. And so I was still living with my friend May and her husband and her cousin. So we all stayed in different rooms. Her and her husband shared a room. And so I was like moving out little bit by little bit, but I was still keeping stuff in the room to make it seem like I was still staying there. But I was moving things little bit by little bit, and they weren't hearing me, or I was like moving stuff when they weren't there or when they were asleep or whatever. And eventually, my last day, when I was able to actually move into the apartment, I told them I was leaving, and they was like, oh, you owe us $400. And I was like, even though the contract was a joke, I could still use it against them. I was like, well, the contract said that this didn't start until next month, so I don't have to pay you $400, and instead I'll give you something for letting me stay here. And so I don't even think I paid the full amount of how much the cable bill was. I don't even watch cable. I don't watch TV like that. And so I gave him something. I don't think I gave him the full amount. And I left because she knew what kind of friend I was. I'm not a money hungry friend. And not too long, like around our birthdays, I had bought her this expensive purse. Well, at the time, I was making good money, so I was like, oh, okay. And I'm always generous to my friends, like when I can, definitely do so. And I was just kind of thrown back about. I was just thrown off when she did that. It was pretty sad that she did that to me. So we stopped being friends. And when I tell you that was like one of the best things I've ever done in my life, that was like the best thing I've ever done in my life. She was like one of those people who, I'm not even gonna lie, I was a little bit intimidated by her back then. Both of us, what attracted me to her, I guess because how our personalities were kind of like the same. And we both had like attitudes, and we were pretty smart. I don't know, like smart mouth. But her anger was just a little bit more concerning than mine. Like, yeah, it was just a little bit more concerning than mine. And like with me, I can intellectually get my point across as much as I can. Yeah, I can pretty much do that. I think I've mastered that kind of. And with her, she was the person who, when you don't know how to intellectually get your point across or express your feelings, these people tend to resort to yelling, cursing, or fighting. So she was that kind of person. And I didn't like to do too much with her because it was just like, okay, you're really, really too angry. You probably need a little bit more help. So yeah, anyway. So at this point, I moved. And I was still talking to the guy, EW. And he was in the military. He was a military policeman. And he would come over to my place and visit or everything or whatever. He lived in the barracks. I think I always called it barricades. Whatever. And so he was still living in barracks, and he would come and visit me or whatever. And then eventually I let him stay. Ugh! I would not in my life do that again. And I don't advise any other woman to do that. To let a man stay with you. I don't know. I guess it's situational. I wouldn't do it again. A woman shouldn't be, doing that. So I let him stay. So, so we was living together in my apartment that got under my name and everything. And he helped out with things because I eventually got fired from State Farm. She told me, we didn't need your help anymore, and I heard that you were looking for another job. I think that's why she probably fired me, because they told her that I was looking for another job. Okay, and so not too long after that, I started working at this call center. And that's when things went downhill like quick fast. I took a major pay cut, especially from where I lived. I took a major pay cut when I went to State Farm. Then I took another major pay cut going to the call center. Like, I still had to pay for my car and everything. And so EW, the guy I was dating at the time, he was helping me out. So it was pretty cool for him to be there and helping me out, because at this point it's only me and him. And then eventually me and her cousin and eventually became cool. And I'm gonna call her a blessing in disguise, because she was a blessing in disguise. Like, she was so, man, yeah, I mess with her. I don't talk to her cousin. I don't talk to May anymore. Me and her are not friends anymore. Me and her cousin were pretty cool, and like, we were, man, she was a blessing in disguise, to say the least. So I didn't talk to her much, because she ended up, she had her own situations going on, and so it was basically me and EW. That's all I knew. Then eventually I met some people. One person I was hanging out with the most was this lady who was like 60 plus years old. I think she used to be a jazz singer in the area or something. Either way, she used to get into all the clubs and VIP for free. So I was rolling with her. so I knew her. So me and EW was living together, and when I started working at the call center, things like went downhill quick. And I was like really sad. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not able to keep up with all my car payments. I'm not able to keep up with paying all my bills. I had student loans and everything. And I was so sad, because I was like, my credit score is going to mess up. Oh my gosh, my credit score is going to mess up. And I will say this one thing. I mean, they're not sponsoring this video, of course not, duh. Out of all like the bills that I had, I called all the bill places, and I was like, hey, I'm going through a financial issue. And I had this credit card with Discover. Yeah, with Discover. And I also had a little credit card with Macy's. Macy's, horrible to this day. I do not shop with them, because they were horrible with what they were like. They weren't understanding at all. All the other places that I called for about my bills were understanding, except for Macy's. I'm like, you're a department store. Get the whatever. They suck. And that day I told them, I was like, I would not shop with you, and I would tell everybody I know not to shop with you, and I have done so. And it's been years that I've been doing that, because they sucked. Their customer service sucked. And Discover, I would recommend Discover to anybody. Discover was really good. They were so nice, and they were like, I'm so sorry for your financial difficulties. We're going to send you a $100 gift card for your difficulties. It was so nice of them. I'm not sure if they do that. Oh, I don't even know if I should have said that. Either way, but I was so appreciative and thankful for that, because it did help me out to like eat and stuff. So I would always say, hey, get Discover. As if you do anything with like credit cards or whatever, get Discover. They were understanding and cool. And other places that, of course, my student loans and all, they were like, okay, we understand, we're notating it or whatever. It was just Macy's. Like the one little retail card that I had, they doing the most. Whatever. So yeah, so I was so sad about all of that. I was basically really sad, because my credit score was gonna go down, and that I had basically downgraded my life to something that I wouldn't even think that I would have done in my life, which is crazy. And I was super sad about that. So I'm gonna say this: I always was I was cooking for me and him. Like every day I was cooking. I can count on probably both hands, or probably just one hand, of how many times I didn't cook for us, because I was just so tired at times. I was so tired, and I was just so down and low, and it was just like a dark place. I think that I hit my lowest. That was like the lowest point of my life, I feel like. And it was a very much so growing and learning experience. It changed my whole life going to Texas. And Oh, okay, so that part is going to be for later. So the first time, now we get to the point where I really got into, well, the relationship started getting violent. I'm going to pause it and come right back. Okay, I'm back. So now we're going to get into the story. So the first time we got into a physical altercation was when he saw that my ex texted me. One of my exes texted me. And I mean, it was a lot of people who were texting me. Everybody, because I had just up and left. Everybody was like worried about me and checking on me because I wasn't really talking to people because I was so sad of where I was, and I was trying to focus on, you know, working and keeping up with life and just staying alive and surviving basically. And so people, yeah, I was getting text messages from everybody, calls and everything. Everybody was concerned about me, family and friends. And so, but this one ex triggered him so much because I guess I've known this ex for so many years. So he's a pretty much trigger. And so I was like, okay, he hit me over that. Second time he hit me, it was over my ex texting me at this time. So I had an Android at the time. This time he showed me, I never knew this until he showed me. He was like, your ex is still texting you. I was like, no, he's not. I'm not even talking to him. And he said, yes, you are. And so he takes of course he's in my phone, shows me the phone and shows me the folder. They have a folder for blocked text messages. I'm like, what? I never knew that. You block a person, I thought you block a person. Because I had an iPhone before that. I used to switch between iPhone and Android for some reason back then. And so I was like, I never knew that they had a folder for blocked text messages. And this fool has found it. And so I'm like, you're looking for stuff now. You see that I'm not responding back to him and you see that he's blocked. You're going to look for stuff now. He hit me over that. At that point, I started talking to people who I was cool with at the apartment place. So, I really forgot her name though, but she was cool. She was a apartment manager, the apartment complex manager. I'm gonna call her Shay Shay. I forgot her name. And it was another lady who was, she retired from the military, but she wasn't old. She was young. And I'm gonna call her Young Vet. Oh, that's cute. Young Vet. Come on, Young Vet. But that wasn't her real name. I remember her real name because she said so many impactful things, and I used to think that she was being mean, but she was saying real live good stuff though whole time, and I was like, man, she's tight. I want to find her again. I lost contact with her, so I started talking to them about it. And they were pretty cool with the guy who lived underneath me. I wasn't. He was an older guy. He would tell them, yeah, it doesn't sound safe with them, and you know, she needs to get out of that situation. They're always arguing and fighting, and it sounds unhealthy and harmful. And so he was telling them that stuff, and they were telling me. And so one day we were eating at this restaurant. And I remember I remember they were talking to me and they were saying, well, the Shay Shay was like, yeah, you need to get out of there. It's not good and it's not safe. And she was like, you can end up dead. And that shook me when she told me that, because she was like, you can try to leave and you can just be going to get, she had said something to the extent of, you know, going to get a sock and nobody will ever see you or hear from you again. And I was like, oh, that was kind of scary to hear. And then Young Vet, she was like, when she get tired, she ain't tired yet, because if she was tired, she would have left. And I was like, why she being so mean? Like, in my head, I was saying that, but I was kind of like looking up because I didn't have anything to say, because I was like, dang, that's kind of harsh. And then after like a day or two of thinking about it, I was like, she's right. if I was tired, I would have left. And I was like, I think we take on a lot. I'm thinking we take on a lot of stuff, and we always like, I'm tired of this. I'm sick and tired of being tired. I'm sick and tired of being. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm tired of him. I'm tired of it. When you really are tired, you will. If you in like really literally, if you are tired or sleepy, you're gonna go to sleep if you can, or either you're gonna automatically go to sleep. Like eventually, you're gonna go to sleep. So in real life, if you are really tired and you're really tired of it, you will let it go, leave it. And I think that we be thinking that we're tired. We're not. We just we're super hurt by it, and we just super hurt by it. So the third time, after them talking to me, and I think at this point I didn't used to talk to the man underneath me, and after a while, closer to when I was about to leave, I started talking to him more, and he was like so nice, and he gave me some furniture, and he was giving me like words of encouragement and just wisdom, and I take all of that, and I'm so grateful and thankful for those people that were in my life, especially at that time, and to remember those things so that I could leave out. And so the third time we were in a grocery store, and I think I probably had my hand on my hip and was like standing in line waiting to get to the register. And he was with me, EW, the guy I was talking to at the time, dating or whatever. And he was like, "You trying to get that guy's attention?" And I was like, "What?" No, he said it when we were in the car, and he was like, "I saw you trying to get that guy's attention." And I'm like, "What guy?" Then he explained him, and I'm like, "I think I saw him." What? I was not trying to get his attention. And so when we got to the apartment, he hit me over that. We got into a big argument, of course. He hit me, and of course I'm going to defend myself as much as possible. And so we were fighting over that, and I'm like, okay, so after we finished, after we finished, I was like, this is stupid. Like, okay, so he's mad at my ex. He's mad at guys texting me, so I'm like, I got rid of them. Now he's thinking that I'm trying to attract other guys in public. I was like, okay, so maybe, I don't know what I really kind of thought, so I think I was just kind of like, so he has an insecurity within himself or something. I don't know what it was. I think he had an insecurity that, because the guy that he was explaining, I think I remember him saying that he was big and buff. And the guy that I was talking to, he wasn't really big and buff. And so I'm thinking that he was like finding insecurities and thinking certain things. So I was like, okay, so I probably try to look like a sad dog when I'm around them kind of men or whatever to not make him feel insecure or make him feel bad in any way. And I think one of those nights, the guy underneath me actually called the police. And when the police came, I was like, no, everything's fine. And I wish I didn't. I wish I knew better and told them that everything wasn't fine, trying to protect him. You live and you learn. So I can't be mad at myself. It was a learning experience. And the police left. And then now, this was when it was just done. After work, I went to work from like early morning and I got off at like 2 or something. And that whole day I didn't eat. And so I was like, I'm hungry. I want to get something to eat. And so I got food after I got off of work. And I got Burger King because I had like a coupon. Or, they always have like coupons and stuff like that. So I had a coupon, got Burger King. And I was so tired. I was so sad and down. And it was just so dark and eerie. That was whatever. And so I went back to my apartment. I ate the food and I threw it in the trash can, but I tried to put like other trash on top of the Burger King bag because I didn't want to go outside. Like a part of me knew that I think a part of me knew that, no, I didn't want him to find out because I don't know. I didn't even have really much of a logic. I just know I didn't want him to really find out, because I was like, I don't even feel like cooking because I'm just so tired. And I didn't go out and throw the trash into the bigger dumpster so he wouldn't see it. So he came in a couple of hours or an hour or so later, and he was like, he was like looking for the food, and I was like, I'm just tired. And he looked in the trash and he was like, so you had Burger King and didn't get nothing from me, so you didn't have no food for me? And he got mad and he choked me. And then he squeezed my body, like he like squeezed, like if you were hugging, he like picked me up like doing that and like squeezed my body to like almost like my ribs felt like they were going to, like, oh my gosh. Then he like slammed me, and then he spit on me, and at this point I'm like trying to get stuff to like get him off of me, and I'm like fighting back, and we like wrestling, like, man, that was just so dark. And then he like threw all the clothes, because we had to go wash clothes outside of the apartment building, and I was like folding up clothes, and then he had, like, I was folding them up in the living room, and he like threw it was clothes all over the place, and it was dishes and knives and forks and spoons and plates. It was just a mess, and it was like thrown all over the place. Then he left and went back to work. And I told him, I don't want to be here no more. I don't want to be here. I'm tired of being here. I hate it here. I don't want to be here no more. I want to go. And then not too long after that, ambulance. I heard sirens, but I didn't know they were for me. I heard sirens, and then a knock on the door, and then it was like, hey ma'am, we heard that it was something going on in here, that you wanted to harm yourself. And I was like, no, I don't want to be here no more. I don't want to be here. I want to go back home. I don't want to be here. And I think I said some other stuff, and I was just like, and then they looking in the apartment, and it looked so freaking crazy. And so they're like, okay, you have to come with us. So they watched me like put my clothes on. It was such oh my gosh, it was so invasive of my privacy. But they were he called the guy that I was dating at the time. He called he called 911 on me, saying that I wanted to harm myself. So yeah, so they were there just probably doing regular protocol procedures to when someone says they, calls police for that kind of circumstance. And so that's what they had to do. It was just invasive to me. They took me in the ambulance, strapped me down, and I was at the psych ward. And I'm talking to the people. I stayed in there a couple of days, and I was like, I'm not crazy. I don't want to harm myself. I don't want to be here. I want to go back home. My credit's messing up. I'm trying to get jobs. I'm not doing better down here. And they're realizing me talking to them when we were doing our one-on-one sessions. I wouldn't talk when we were doing group sessions. I would only talk when we were doing like one-on-one sessions. And they started to realize, like, okay, so she knows what she's talking about. So okay, and then oh yeah. So while I was in there, I didn't talk to any of my family. Of course, he had my phone, so he probably was having a field day. And he gave the contact of the lady that I was hanging with, going out to the parties with, the 60-year-old woman. He gave her the information to call me there. And I was like, I want to talk to my family. She's not even my family. She's a lady that I met here. Why would he give her? So they were the only two people that can talk to me and contact me or something, whatever. I can't remember. I didn't give them because I didn't know the lady number by heart. So either way, he tried to call me. I never wanted to talk to him when I was in there. And so after a while, I was like, I have an interview next week, and I was like, I want to try to get a better job and stuff. So they let me out over the weekend, And of course I went to the interview, didn't do good. I didn't get the job. I wasn't able to prepare. And so I didn't talk to him when I was in the car. And at that time that I was at the psych place, I was basically plotting on how I was going to leave. And I did leave. I think it was around close to tax time, and I remember him going with me to get my taxes done, and I had enough money, and he was like, "You're going to try to leave." And I was like, "I'm going to be able to pay for some bills. That's what I'm going to be able to do. I'm not telling him what I was going to do with the money, for real. Like my real plan, I wasn't going to let him know what I was going to do." And so I was like, and it's crazy that you don't even want better for me. And he like came out his mouth, and what he said was very disturbing. I can't remember it word from word, but it was to the extent that he didn't want better for me because he wanted me to depend on him, basically. And I was like, did this nigga just say that? Did he just say that out of his mouth to me? I was like, no, this is not the situation that I want to be in. So while he was at work, I would pack certain things into my trunk of my car to not make it seem like I was really moving. And then like when he was at work, like the furniture was his and stuff, but the furniture was in his name that he had. Like certain furniture was in his name, and then the furniture that I got from the guy underneath me, I think I just left it. So I took everything that I could take. I didn't have any clothes because one time when I went to wash my clothes and I had to leave, I came back and they stole all my clothes from out of the dryer. So I got as much as I could. And that one day, I had told him, I was like, I need to leave. I have to leave at this point. I was like, because he's not only hitting me over gas situation, he's now hitting me over food. And I was like, it's not going to get any better than this. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And I hate where I'm at in my life. I don't like where I'm at in my life. And I was like, I got to go. So I made a payment plan to pay the rest of my lease off and not be there. And she agreed to it. And after that, I packed the rest of my stuff. I threw a whole bunch of stuff away. And whatever I couldn't take, I didn't take. And I drove back home. And I stopped midway to see my other sister that I don't see often, my niece and nephew. And I stayed with them for a couple of days, and I went right back home. Yep, so that was the story. And I hope that story helps someone else, because it's not a good feeling. And to be in that kind of situation, to feel so like in confinement, and to be like in jail, that feeling, just me telling the story again, is just making me feel so, I just remember how dark and low and, caged in I felt. So hopefully my story will help someone else, and that you all do better for yourself. And yeah, I have videos on here about the second domestic violence situation, how I started this channel. So the first one was way worse than the second one, in my opinion. And I never reported him. Yeah, I never reported him. I'm sure that if the military found out, that he wouldn't probably been in the military any longer. I don't think he's in the military anymore, because his sister was my friend on Facebook, and we're not friends anymore. So I seen that before I stopped being on Facebook like that. But yeah, so I changed and came back home, and I was good, and it was just good to be around family again, and friends and people who care and love me. So yeah, always get out of the situations. And I got a video of me talking about the signs that I experienced that I probably should have paid attention to more. So I'll try to link that video at the end of this video, or in the description. Yeah, I'll probably do that so that you can see that if you haven't seen it already. I want to help. And why I'm doing this is so I can help other women out, because it's not, it's not a small issue. It's a big issue. It's a huge issue. And if I can help with my story and someone would listen and take the advice so they won't have to physically go through it, I'm here. And yeah, so I'll be doing more videos of just me basically going on with my life. And yeah, so it's not going to be all domestic violence stuff. It's going to be me moving on in my life, and I'm going to post videos. So the next video I'm going to be posting I don't know if it'll be another story time or it may be about my vision board. Yeah, so I'll see you in my next video.